Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. This was a member exclusive Patreon and YT members. It was a remote viewing target. And again, when you do remote viewing, in the case of how we do it, again, like many other remote viewers, you do it where you have no clue as to what you're looking at. And that gives you legitimacy. Like if you said, okay, I want to go back to 1066 AD, and I want to see exactly what happened on the Battle of Hastings and William the Conqueror. You know, that kind of, again, is going to create a lot of presuppositions in your mind, you know, and a lot of thoughts that you already have about it can distort what you actually pick up on it in a neutral manner. So it's always done blind. And that's really where things get interesting, because also you may see aspects of something that you might think are not so important with your logical mind, but then it becomes really the number one most important thing without utilizing the logical mind. I hope I explained that.
It's really, really good. And, it's something we can all do. What I like about it is we can all do it. We can all practice it. And it builds confidence in your psychic abilities. I love it.
Yeah, this is the time to be utilizing your abilities, honing your abilities, and picking up more clarity. We have a rare virus outbreak kills travelers on an Atlantic cruise ship. Of the 6 affected individuals, 3 have died. 1 is currently in intensive care in South Africa. It's a suspected Hantavirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship. I was able to take a couple of cruises in my life, and I absolutely loved them. To me, they were just fabulous. But again, in these times now, gosh, I just can't see doing it, because we are very, very particular with food. And we recognize that there's so much food, the majority of food, I think, out there, at least in our country, USA. I wouldn't trust it at all. So, again, we're not going to eat stuff that we don't know where it came from. Now, when it comes to this, the people that got sick with this and unfortunately have passed on. One was a 70-year-old man. He became ill aboard a vessel and died after reaching the British territory of St. Helena Island, according to an AP report citing South Africa's Department of Health. His 69-year-old wife collapsed in an airport in South Africa while trying to board a flight to her home country, the Netherlands, and later died in a South African hospital. The patient, currently in intensive care, has been identified as a British national. The body of the 3rd victim remains aboard the ship, along with 2 symptomatic crew members in need of urgent medical care. Ocean-wide Expeditions, the agency operating the cruise, said in a statement on Sunday. The agency added that repatriation of the crew members depends on authorization from the local Cape Verdean health authorities. We're facing a complex situation with challenges and are attempting to expedite the treatment of both the individuals with the support and leadership of the Dutch authorities. Hantavirus infections in humans are typically linked to exposure to the urine, feces, or saliva of infected rodents, though rare cases of person-to-person transmission have been documented. The virus can cause severe respiratory or renal, which is kidney, illness, according to the WHO. The UN health body said it's conducting a full public health risk assessment while coordinating with member states and ships operators to assist with medical evacuations. Yeah, it's always kind of scary when you think about it. Again, they blame the Black Plague on these guys. When we go back to the medieval times and recognize that there have been times when these outbreaks literally have removed a third of the population. Oh, I always think back to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Bring out your dead, making light of it. And hantavirus, again, not a contagious virus, not typically transmitted person to person, so there's no reason to panic. It's just about these little guys. And, it is very, very rare. But when you look at cruise ships too, you are in contact with the same whatever hundreds, or maybe even on the bigger cruise ships, thousands of people that are on the ship with you. And then, of course, often you stop out at a certain place and go explore and come back on the cruise ship. Meanwhile, in the USA, look at them crawling out there. Millions of ticks. The story is so insane. Farmers continue to report finding boxes full of ticks on their farmland, clearly left there on purpose. Now the U.S. has already seen a sharp increase in the number of tick-related diseases, and there's new ones coming out all the time. Often the problem is co-infections, because it just seems that these things have so many different co-infections. It's almost mind-boggling. And, here you see a post talking about that Gil Bates guy funded research into genetically engineered cattle ticks, and now 450,000 Americans have red meat allergies from the alpha-gal syndrome. There's another new syndrome that is just starting to be reported on too, concerning ticks. And to me, ticks, when I was a little kid in the 70s, I was in the middle of leaf piles, the woods. I never came away with a tick. In the 80s, all of a sudden it became hazardous, especially later in the 80s, to get out into the woods. I mean, my cousins, they lived in the woods. I mean, everything that, they did was centered around camping trips and being out in the woods. So why would this just pop up out of the blue? And why would it be so nasty with so many different co-infections? Here is Dr. Marty McCary.
How many people have Lyme disease, including people we know? Mm-hmm. Where did Lyme disease come from? I can tell you with a high degree of probability, it came from Lab 257 on Plum Island, just outside of Connecticut, 25 miles from Lyme, Connecticut, where the first case was described. How do we know that? First of all, you can read the book Bitten, and it's a great book. When the Nazi war criminal doctors were executed in Nuremberg, at least one of them was spared and brought to the United States so that he could, his mind could be used by the U.S. military for so-called biodefense. And they put him on Plum Island. And he had said very openly that he believed an incredible form of biowarfare was infecting ticks. And that's what Lyme disease is. And then it shows up 25 miles away. And by the way...
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Here you go. So here's Plum Island. As you can see, the border with Connecticut. And, it's not far from, so many places. Like here's Montauk. And, of course, we have some of the homes of the rich and famous out in the Hamptons. It's an area, again, that has seen just a mass of cases of all sorts of tick-related diseases. I grew up again in this area, literally between Milford and Fairfield, and when you look at, there's Old Saybrook, and there you have Old Lyme and East Lyme, and there's a naval base over in New London. When you think about this, we were talking about Montauk. The Montauk, there's been a lot of different things going on Plum Island, source of a lot of CONS piracy theories, and one of them is the Montauk Monster too. This was interesting. People say, no, it was just a pig, and this body shows up. And it could have been pretty decomposed, but it actually looks kind of like a hybrid. People were saying, no, it was maybe a pit bull and a raccoon. I mean, you got all these different things coming out. Was it a hybrid? Were they doing any genetic experiments? Well, they always do genetic experiments. Oh my gosh. Again, many people think about dogmen and Bigfoot as being genetic experiments of these beings ultimately that control the reality that we find ourselves in.
Well, there's this information floating around about using human cells in animals to help grow organs now. So that becoming legal in certain areas. So, once it's in the public, we know it's been done in private for years and years and years and years and years. So, yeah, the big one was this was a raccoon, and somehow the beak is just like decomposition and its teeth. So, they're always coming up with the best ones.
Yeah, again, the Montauk Monster. The Montauk Monster, is it some sort of mad scientist hybrid? Again, there's been so many different theories on this. We know this was the highest classification biowarfare facility that there is. It did ultimately close down. But still, what were they doing on here? And think about this. This is back in 1971 here, this photo. Oh, they were doing things here that, we'll probably never get full knowledge of ever. Again, we've had a lot of disclosure of all sorts of things. We've found that one after another conspiracy theory has been made completely valid. It's been validated and shown to be completely true. Conspiracy theorists are simply people that are more perceptive than the masses. That's really the case. Okay, let's jump over and see. We have Rudy Giuliani in serious injury in a car accident, Interstate 93 in Manchester, New Hampshire, on the evening of August 30th. He's 81 at this point in time and was a passenger in a Ford Bronco driven by his associate, Theodore Goodman. Vehicle was struck from behind at high speed by a Honda HR-V driven by a 19-year-old named Lauren Kemp. According to Giuliani's security head, Michael Ragusa, the pair had stopped to assist a woman who flagged them down regarding a domestic violence incident on the southbound side of the highway. After ensuring she received help and speaking with troopers, they merged back onto northbound lanes when the crash occurred. Giuliani suffered a fractured thoracic vertebrae, multiple lacerations, contusions, and injuries to his left arm and lower leg. All three individuals sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Giuliani was hospitalized and initially reported in critical but stable, was released from the hospital shortly after the incident and was expected to make a full recovery, appearing at a September 11th memorial service wearing a brace. So, yeah, that is certainly a curious incident. You have the woman out there trying to flag somebody down for supposedly a domestic violence situation, which could be some of the most dangerous situations there are, and then you end up being rear-ended. Well, that feels a little bit suspicious. There might not be anything to it, though.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, I think, again, with the collapse of the system and, recognizing how many people out there have knowledge of things that certain people don't want you to get out there, makes for a lot of interesting targets. And everybody's a potential target when you get down to it, depending on what you know and what you can expose. And here you have cleanup. This is the Mayon volcano. Again, you see the residents are sweeping the ash-filled streets to make things get back somewhat to normal. But you have to recognize, too, these when you get these ash flows like this, it can be very, very toxic, very disruptive. Some livestock, again, some animals have died, unfortunately. Farms are blanketed in thick ash, which is destroying crops, weakening the vegetation, pet deaths emerging. It's a sad situation, and this could change also and at just any moment in time with this volcano being awakened. Then this one, you have this guy who did a Freedom of Information Act request and on himself to see, is anybody watching me? Remember that old song, I got a feeling somebody's watching me? Well, of course they are. And in fact, the details that he got were stunning. And they literally have him tagged here for suspected food production. Imagine that. Growing his own food, the nerve of this guy.
I know. I mean, isn't that just wild? Growing his suspected food production. Oh my gosh.
This should be mind-blowing to people, but then again, we've just gotten used to it. So local government drone surveilling your backyard for suspected food production. Arrest that man immediately. He planted a tomato plant.
What do we do? Do we all go out and make one of those requests just to see?
It is beyond ridiculous. By the way, this is Virginia. And then we have all these reports. This is California. I pump my own water on my own land. California wants me to put a meter on it so they could charge me. This is insanity. It's beyond insanity. This is telling us they view us as nothing but slaves. You own nothing. And you must, again, allow the parasites to literally suck you dry in every way, shape, or form. This is really what you see coming out from the left side of things. But we also have on the right side of things people that may say one thing and then do another. As it's all coming out and being exposed, I will not comply is a good mantra. I will not comply. You have Tim Burchett who... like when I was telling Cindy this, she was saying, well, he needs to be careful because, again, when targets come out exposing too much, there's always accidents, unfortunately, that seem to happen very frequently.
Thank you, Brother Paul. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brian. Somebody asked me if I was going to wear my jacket up there, and I said, to quote the immortal words of Henry Winkler when he played the Fonz, I always rumble in this jacket. Because that's what we're up against. This is a fist fight, folks. Now, first, I guess I need to thank Chairman Stiles and the committee, the House Admin Administration Committee, for taking this up, because I realize what we're up against. This is, everybody talks about this place being a dadgum swamp. It's not a swamp. A swamp is something cool God created. It filters water. Animal life lives and flourishes around it. This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, for years, Congress has been using hard-working American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop. This place is crooked and is crooked as a dog's leg. That's an old East Tennessee saying, but it's the truth. And it needs to stop. America knows what's going on. We're in committee meetings. We hear things before y'all do. We can make those connections. When you see a member of this body making 400, 500, 600 trades a year, you know something's wrong. Everybody ought to do like I do. I got my buddy Tommy Seiler invested in my mutual fund. I ended up having to cash it out because my daughter's going to school. I'm not a wealthy man. But look, this thing is broken, and it needs to be fixed. And this is the right avenue to do it. And I want to say something. I'm going to get these guys mad at me, but I really don't care because they can't vote in my district. This thing ain't going to pass. If we're going to pass something in the House, and then guess what? The Senate will either, one, not take it up, or they'll come back in righteous indignation and say, oh, we need to make this stronger, something totally ridiculous, and they'll send it back to us. This is a scam that's being played on the American public, and it
needs to stop. Yeah, it is what it is. It's just a club, and the club has been exposed. There's a lot of things being exposed, and there's still more and more things up in the sky that people are questioning and awakening to every single day here.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more prevalent, more and more obvious, very difficult to hide these days.
It's, again, they put out the fear of an alien invasion, but again, what if that alien invasion happened thousands and thousands of years ago, and you're under that system to this very day? But what if there are other beings out there that know what's going on, that literally are pulling for humanity to fully wake up and to throw the system off, to shed the yoke of slavery which has been put on us? What is this? And this is in the Philippines, I believe. Yeah. This is curious. At first, you would shake this off. Very strange lights. We have lots of people seeing very strange lights. But, here there's people that are watching this and pointing to this. And, there's just so many of these cases that we're having. Now, why are they not identical in different countries? There's a lot of things that get seen in the United States, for instance, but not necessarily the exact thing being seen in other areas. And then there's some in some of these third world countries, to use a term, that seem very different. Could it have anything to do with, again, going back to Deuteronomy 32:8 and Plato's Critias, the fact that the gods, again, these advanced beings, literally parceled up the planet with different groups taking control of different tribes? So can certain beings show themselves in maybe Thailand or the Philippines that couldn't show themselves in the U.S. because the U.S. is working with some other ones, and maybe that would be different from what China's working with primarily. And China, they got this in place already. Mandatory AI surveillance systems scan facial features for signs of impairment or drowsiness. So, if your car sees that you're looking a little tired there, it might actually pull over the side of the road and shut you down. This is where we're coming from. Again, people shouldn't be driving impaired, but at the same time, there's going to be all these decisions taken away from you and made by AI.
Oh, what happens if you're, panicked and trying to get away from an avalanche, or you're trying to get out of the way of a tornado? What happens when you're just in general panicked and you're not yourself, and the AI is going to say, no, you're not okay to drive this car. We're not going to get you out of the way of the avalanche. That's just the programming. So, this is a really big problem coming up. I'm sure it's in a lot of cars now, but 2025 or 2027 is when it said that the manufacturers cannot sell a vehicle without a kill switch. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Have something that you can utilize, hopefully, that doesn't have any of this technology in it. And a growing number of Americans believe that the U.S. government itself has weather weapons capable of causing natural disasters. This is where we're at now, where this number is starting to grow. As you see, weather weapon Helene, military treason. So if the U.S. intensifies or steers storms that impact the U.S. and brings about death and destruction, are they not committing treason? They certainly are against humanity, and this is the reality. How about Ritz crackers? I don't know when the last time I ate a Ritz cracker was. Probably pre-2001. Again, there are always a little bit healthier alternatives out there than these mass-produced big companies. This is just toxic soup. Here you go. Ritz crackers, ingredients flagged in 60 countries. 60 countries, bioengineered. Could be anything. Who knows what's in there? Always look for organic alternatives. Best thing to do is literally make your own. And we had homemade pizza last night. I mean, we always make our own pizza. We make our own tortillas. We do all of our food from scratch because I don't trust anything out there. People are now doing rage workouts to blow through their anger and to fuel their fitness. Watch out, she's got an axe. Yeah. Again, recognize that emotions that are not processed literally can be stored in the body at a particular location. These are known in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. You ever get a massage, and all of a sudden there's a certain emotional release when somebody, the massage therapist hits a certain spot in your body. Well, it could be they're actually hitting the spot where there was traumatic energy stored that then can be released. Exercise. We are holistic beings. You got to take care of mind, body, and spirit.
Oh, for sure. And I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that one with the axe there. I'd probably move to a different place. But no, I mean, I think it's very, very functional. We need to get that energy out of us, because just because you calm down and settle down doesn't mean that energy moves out of your body. And that's something that is I learned, it was very fun when I learned about biofield tuning. I got a book. It was called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And it really helped me understand biofield tuning and how you can diffuse a lot of those emotions that are buried in the energy field. And it's very, very effective. And as a result, people feel so much lighter. They feel so much brighter. They feel so much better. And, their life starts to unfold in ways that otherwise they had been stuck for years. So, the energy field is very, very fascinating. We have so much to learn. We will get there. And I see a lot of really good things coming out about sound therapy and natural healing.
Here we have a 31-year-old pup, Lazare the rescue dog, is believed to reach his 31st birthday. Isn't that amazing? Again, I do think that we can live much longer than what we are used to seeing. Much, much longer. Again, we're starting to recognize just how toxic the food, the air, the water, everything has been. It will be cleaned up. Mother Nature's going to clean it up herself at one point in time. We can definitely get a head start, and we could do also our best to support each other to get a healthy start to the day. As you see the pups there, and everybody is getting their fresh milk, and no, that milk hasn't been pasteurized.
Those puppies are smart.
Yeah, listen to your body. Really listen to your body. Listen to the cues that your body gives you. Again, we are being hit by parasites in offices, also parasites in the food, parasites in the situation. It's a parasitic system, literally. The politicians, they're basically the same as the ticks and, all the nasty little viruses that are out there. We need to support each other and to help each other live stronger, healthier lives. And, really the sky's the limit, because once we are unencumbered by this dark system that's been in place, in my mind, for thousands of years, then the sky's the limit. When you look to, again, the Hindu and the Greek legends and myths talking about the age we are now in, this is the time of those biblical ages, like Methuselah, 969 years. Could a human really live hundreds of years like that, 900 years? I do think it's possible. Again, they have fed us a science and a belief system, which, again, science is a belief system when you get down to it, especially when it's funded with certain outcomes in mind. And again, they always have certain things that they want you to jump on board with and think is the next greatest thing. But again, simple. One ingredient food, Mother Nature's intention. Again, everything in this original natural matrix was literally made for us and to support us. So it's not Mother Nature that's out to get you. It's just another system, another dark matrix system.
Indeed.
And we thank you guys for your support. Come and join us again with YT memberships, with Patreon. If you need to set up an appointment for energy work, Vedic astrology, life coaching, whatever it is we can do for you, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. There is information about us and the appointments on every single video. Just look for more information, and it's all right there. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.